Hi, in this episode, we're going to talk about responsibility. I'm going to give you 3 areas to pay attention to if you want to amp up your ability to be responsible in your life, which ultimately leads to freedom. Hey everybody, Ed here. Thanks for joining me today. Hey, today I want to talk about responsibility and what that actually means. I think that a lot of people get wired up early in life. Let's say you have siblings and you're supposed to take the garbage out or feed the dog or clean the pet cage or whatever that might be. The inconvenience of that when we're little, we start wiring up responsibility as a burden. And I think that's a big mistake. I think that later in life, when we see responsibility as a burden, we don't get the gift that it actually offers us. So I want to give you a couple of areas to look at in your life. I don't want to make this video very long, and we can have a discussion in the comments about more details of this. And I'll come out with other videos if you have more questions. But let's talk about 3 areas that I think are hot spots for looking at yourself around whether or not you're taking full responsibility. The first one, which is one of the hardest, is blame. So when we're blaming somebody else for the experience that we're having, we're not taking responsibility for the emotions or the memories that are getting triggered in our own body. So one of the ways to rework that is to be thinking about if somebody says something, and now you're going to have to sit and you're going to have to process this to make this really work, but you want to be thinking about if somebody says anything or does anything, I'm talking about everyday society, not a perpetrator that's actually violating you or robbing you. I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about relationships. So if you feel like somebody just said something that really upset you, the place to go is to say, hold on a minute, I'm having a reaction to what you just said. Let me just pause for a minute so I can actually hear you. And if you pause for a moment and think about what just happened, you're going to realize that person just triggered a memory in you. So that's as much as I'm going to say about that. And I want you to really think about it over the next few days when you feel like somebody is saying something that's offending you. The next place we go, another area to look at in yourself is shame. Shame is one of these, it's like blame turned inward, where we make ourselves wrong and we don't even realize we're doing it. When we're little, I want you to really get this, when we're little, and we feel bad, we draw a conclusion based on our limited rationalization abilities. We draw a conclusion that we are bad, and that's a mistake. And later in life, when things start going wrong, we immediately collapse into this shame place because we think that something's bad with us. In reality, all that's happening there is a memory system is getting activated. So my invitation to you is to look at any time you feel like you're shaming yourself, is to hit the pause button, go into your meditation, stop and sort that out. Here's what shame feels like in this hand, and the other hand stop and say, well, if I wasn't shaming myself, what would I be doing? I'd be curious, I'd be open, I'd be wondering why my body had such a reaction and what memories are there that are trying to talk to me to tell me that maybe I need to challenge those memories. All right, and the last one is justifications. Now, justifications are when we draw a conclusion from, let's say we're in a conversation. Now this happens sometimes in coaching calls where I might say something that upsets somebody, but they might shut down a little bit, and then they get off the call and they start thinking about, well, Ed's really good and maybe it's just me and maybe I should have said something, but you know what? It's okay. He's a good guy. He has good intentions. And I'll just let it go this time. Well, that's a justification. And that, if you start stacking those up over time, it becomes an excuse to not confront your emotions or your feelings. And this is where we get stuck in life. I want you to think about emotions as a faucet in our bodies. Think of a faucet. If you are blocking any emotions, anger, fear, sadness, sexual feelings, shame, guilt, any of those difficult feelings, it's like you're plugging up the faucet that is trying to run your creative energy, and that's all it is. So you want to loosen those up, loosen up those belief systems, and loosen up the grip, or loosen up the blame or the shame or the justification of shutting down the energy. So stop justifying. Don't justify that. Here's a good one. When people talk about their parents when they were little, they'll say, "Oh, I had a great childhood," and then when we talk about it, there's actually several things that happen that upset them, but they're overriding it because today, in hindsight, they can say, "Oh, my parents are great." Well, of course they're great, but what happens is early in life, those emotions that you were feeling never got finished processing. So we have to, and I'm not talking about regurgitating them through a conversation. That's not the kind of coaching or therapy that I'm recommending to you. What I am recommending is that we process it in a way that our body finishes the experience so we can move into current reality, not stay stuck in the past when something re-triggers that. And there's a big difference between talk therapy and processing energy in a way that finishes it forever. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Again, if this is a lot of information in a short period of time, go back and listen to it a couple times. Go down below, put your comments and your questions, your curiosities, and let's start a dialogue and we'll get this thing rolling. So thank you so much for your time. Many blessings today. And your homework this week is to work on responsibility. Take out blame, take out shame, take out your justifications. Just notice those and watch what starts happening. My goal for you is to start seeing responsibility as a celebration, because really what responsibility is doing is helping you to step into your full potential as a person. So thanks again. Many blessings.